What's up, everybody? Mark with Coffee&Toys here. It is another Marvel Monday, and that means we are going to be reviewing the latest in our series review of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. And today we are reviewing issue number 15 of A Real American Hero, so let's jump right into it. But of course, before we jump into that review, let's talk about the coffee you are drinking, because the coffee I am drinking is once again provided by coffeebrandcoffee.com. That's right, coffeebrandcoffee.com can supply you with all your coffee needs. Make sure you use the link in the description down below. Save yourself 5% on your first order or your 50th order. Pick yourself up some great coffee. No frills, no gimmicks, just great tasting coffee from a great American business. I myself am once again drinking their Roaster's Choice for the month of July. That's right, you can sign up on their website, get your first month of your club membership 50% off. Have coffee delivered whole bean or ground direct to your doorstep. So with that, I'm going to take a drink. Again, this is a light blend, this month's roast. I'll make sure this time, because I didn't put it in the last video, I'll make sure to throw it up there so you guys can see what it is. It's got a really long name, and frankly, I don't remember it, but it is a light roast. It's very good. It actually has a little bit of a darker taste to it. It tastes more like a medium than an actual light roast. So, matter of fact, I'm gonna have another drink. Make sure you like the video before we get any further. It really helps out the channel. But with that being said, we will be reviewing G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue number 15, starting now. Alright, with that, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue number 15 came out in September of 1983 and is entitled Red Eye to Miami. Our writer, once again, is the famous Larry Hama, penciler Mike Vosberg, inker John D'Agostino, letterer Rick Parker, colorist Andy Yanchus, editor Denny O'Neil, and editor-in-chief Jim Shooter. Now, we kick off this issue where we left off on the last issue. We have Dr. Venom begging for his life with the Cobra forces and Sierra Gordo, and Snake-Eyes quietly surrendering, standing in the river, which is now the seemingly home, or I should say the seemingly watery grave of one Mr. Kwinn, who we know in the last issue was knocked over the head by Dr. Venom and left to be dead inside the now buried under the water bunker. As Dr. Venom is pleading for his life, he says, hey, you guys need me. I'm still an asset. I can actually fly us out of here because I know how to fly single engine airplanes. And so as he's talking it over, up from the murky water comes Kwinn, and he pulls out his Browning and just starts mowing down these Cobra forces. And at the same time, Snake-Eyes uses this as an opportunity to begin strangling Dr. Venom, choking him under the water until Kwinn pulls him off and says, no, we need him. He is the only person that can fly a plane out of here and help us return back to Florida. That is where they are planning on going. As nightfall arrives, we return once again to the airstrip that was seen previously in issue 13. We have Dr. Venom, Snake-Eyes, and Kwinn. Kwinn and Snake-Eyes take out a couple guardsmen, and they are able to commandeer this large bomber airplane, which they say is the only one that has the range to get them from Sierra Gordo across the Gulf of Mexico to the Miami shoreline, the Miami airport. They get in the plane. Snake-Eyes takes over the gunner's seat. Kwinn is secondary, and Dr. Venom, of course, is going to pilot the plane. Dr. Venom makes it known, hey, I've only flown single engines, but I think I can figure this out. They're pretty much playing it by ear. Kwinn actually finds the flight manual and says, hey, you need to probably read up on this a little later. But as they start moving down the airstrip, one of the engines won't turn over in this 4-engine bomber. And as as Dr. Venom's cursing it, the tower realizes the plane's leaving. They start firing down on our heroes and villain. And Snake-Eyes manages to take out all the other planes on the airstrip, but they still have the tower to deal with. And as they're gaining speed, they finally manage to get that 4th engine to turn over. But at this point, a Jeep blockade has been set up at the end of the airstrip, and it really doesn't seem like they're going to be able to pull up in time, but The team successfully does pull up. They get into the air. Unfortunately, though, their landing gear is clipped off because of that blockade. They didn't get quite enough clearance, and now they are stuck flying a plane with no landing gear. We go back to Cobra HQ, meanwhile, and Destro and the Baroness meet with Cobra Commander. Baroness tells Cobra Commander that they have received Dr. Venom's message. Oh, I guess I should rewind. While they're in the air, Dr. Venom, obviously shaky, says, Kwinn, I need you to take the controls because I'm really shaky. Kwinn says, fine, go back there, read up that flight manual, don't try anything sneaky. And Dr. Venom says, oh, I wouldn't do anything sneaky, and even if I would, who's going to take me back? Cobra Commander's not going to take me back because I double-crossed them with the not giving them the real toxin. But of course, while he's in the back of the plane, he's sending a Morse code to Cobra. That being said, we go back to Cobra HQ, and Cobra Commander is asking the Baroness. Our Baroness tells Cobra Commander, hey, we just got a message from Dr. Venom. He's alive. He's actually on his way to Miami right now. And Cobra Commander's like, fine, he tricked us. We tricked him. We'll just settle it when we get together. But he has what we need, and he's still a valuable player. As Destro's also there, Cobra Commander turns his attention to Destro and says, hey, I would like to know why. How did you know what the Joes were going to do at our outpost in Vermont? Again, from previous issue. And Destro just casually says, hey, Scarface tipped me off about it, which we all know is untrue. Destro knew everything that was going on and was planting the seeds of deception along with Scarface with that microdot from the previous issue. As the morning breaks, though, over the Gulf of Mexico, the plane's still flying. Dr. Venom tells Snake-Eyes, hey, I think the bomb bay door is slipping, and if it opens, it's going to create more drag on us, and we're going to not be able to make it to the Gulf of Mexico, or I'm sorry, to Miami. Please go back there and secure it with some sort of cable or something. Snake-Eyes goes back, sees the bomb bay door, reaches down for some cabling, and as he does so, Dr. Venom ejects the bomb bay doors, open up. Snake-Eyes plummets, but manages to grab that cable or rope, whatever it is, and holds himself on. Kwinn, seeing Snake-Eyes in trouble, rushes to his aid, and at that point, Dr. Venom puts the plane into a heads-up rise, and Kwinn falls himself, catches himself by the bomb bay door from the inside, and is hanging there trying to grab Snake-Eyes, and at the same time completely at the mercies of Dr. Venom, who comes up and then begins taking liberties with Kwinn by hitting him over the head repeatedly with a wrench. This only infuriates and, dare I say, makes him almost like the Hulk. It just makes Kwinn more angry, and as he gets more angry, he just powers himself up with one hand. Oh, by the way, during all this, Snake-Eyes' ropes actually snapped, and Snake-Eyes grabbed onto Quinn's boot. So we have Kwinn getting hit in the head with a wrench, holding on with one arm, Snake-Eyes on his boot, still manages to pull himself, not to discount the obvious speed of the airplane and being up 45,000 feet, and pulls himself back in, and he is infuriated. He actually does, in my opinion, remind me of the Hulk, and he grabs Dr. Venom, lifts him above his head, and is going to toss him out the bomb bay doors when Snake-Eyes stops him and says, hey, essentially saying, hey, we still need him. Kwinn calms down, and they get back to what they need to do. Now, as all that's going on, we go back to the Joe headquarters, the pit, and the team is reviewing the details of the Vermont attack, and there's not really much here, but Stalker notes that they found the vials that are generally used to hold deadly substances or toxins, but they couldn't find what the toxin was because it had all been burned off in the explosions and the fire from the previous issue. But Stalker says there was something interesting we did notice, and that is that this whole operation its whole purpose was to make lots of ink, printer's ink, no less. And that's really where we leave it right now, this kind of head scratcher about printer's ink. So put that in the back of your mind. Might come into play in the next issue. Back at Cobra Commander is meeting with a new player, and it's Major Blood. That's right, Major Blood makes his debut in issue number 15. And he starts to say, hail Cobra, and Cobra Commander waves him off, says, we don't need formalities. You fix problems. I'm hiring you to fix a problem, and that problem's name is Destro. That's right. Cobra Commander is putting out a hit on Destro for Major Blood to carry out. Meanwhile, in another area of the Cobra HQ, Baroness and Destro are being, I don't want to say intimate, but they are very close, holding each other. I guess that would be intimate. And she's like, I'm really torn because Destro's saying, hey, the whole Vermont thing I did to protect you, to save you. I don't care about Cobra Commander. And Baroness is torn because she's like, well, I'm second in command to Cobra Commander. My loyalties need to be with him, but I love you. It's that whole thing going on with her. So we get a brief little tidbit on that. Now, as the plane is flying, we return back to the Gulf of Mexico, and Dr. Venom, Kwinn, and Snake-Eyes are flying very low to the ground, when they're to the sea rather, when they notice a shipping vessel with a radar mast on it, and Dr. Venom wants to destroy the boat because he doesn't want to give away their location. Kwinn says, nope, you've already tried killing us. You're not going to kill anybody else. And unfortunately, they don't realize that the actual shipping vessel is a vessel full of contraband. So they see this low-flying aircraft, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to get caught. And they open fire on the bomber. And the bomber is hit. It starts leaking fuel. Unfortunately for those on the shipping vessel with the contraband, that fuel leaks onto the plane as they're still opening fire and causes a massive explosion, and killing all of them, presumably. And also still, while the plane is able to avoid the fire, it's leaking fuel at an accelerated rate. And Dr. Venom tells Kwinn and Snake-Eyes, hey, if it's not bolted down, or even if it is bolted down, get everything you can out of this plane, or we are not going to make it to Miami. Meanwhile, back at the Miami airport, an individual arrives in a nice black car, and he states, where is he? And they say he hasn't arrived yet. And he's like, all right, he will be arriving fairly soon. Let Cobra Command know. And we cut back. We see that they've dumped everything they can out of this airplane, and they are still heading towards landfall. And as we cut over now, and we see the plane getting closer and closer to the Miami beach, and we get this little scene of this elderly couple on the beach, relaxing, taking the day in, reminiscing about old times. And as they do, the bomber is just getting closer and closer and closer to them, and they're not moving, they're just talking. And it's a little comedic, but ultimately the bomber stops within inches of hitting this couple, who are completely oblivious that this bomber is coming right at them. The lady actually spills her pina colada, and the plane makes landfall, like I said, in Miami. All the cops and special forces show up, and the couple's just like within inches of the nose of the plane. Now, while this is all happening, we see that the Snake-Eyes and Kwinn and Dr. Venom are all taken into custody. However, this individual with the that showed up earlier at the airport comes out. He immediately walks up to the police officers and says, hey, I have this writ that says Dr. Venom is free to go with us. And they whisk Dr. Venom away while Snake-Eyes and Kwinn are thrown into a jail cell. And Dr. Venom, however, gets in this nice black vehicle, lights up a cigar, and the individual is saying, hey, Cobra Commander had to pay a big price to get you here. I hope it was worth it. And Dr. Venom just says, take me to Cobra HQ, and he lights up a cigar. And that's the end of the issue. We see that the three people that were in Sierra Gordo have finally made it back to the United States. Dr. Venom is going to Cobra Command. Snake-Eyes and Kwinn are in jail. Seemingly, I'm sure they'll get out by the next issue. This was a fun issue, seeing a lot of action. One thing I did not mention during the review, and I apologize for it, there actually was a dogfight as well, or a semi-dogfight. One of the small aircraft on the airway were not actually damaged, so they sent that to attack. And whenever they sent that to attack, what they basically did was Dr. Venom, Kwinn, and Snake-Eyes is that they had the little Spitfire plane chasing them, so they went into an ascent behind some cloud cover, and then they brought it down into a nosedive, but they were in cloud cover long enough that whenever they went into the descent and came out of the clouds, the moonlight blinded the pilot of the smaller aircraft long enough that he didn't have time to pull up from the nosedive, and he wound up crashing into the ocean. So that is one thing I left out. I apologize for that. It was kind of a minor detail. It lasted just for one page, but it was still interesting. This was an action-packed issue. Let me know your thoughts about it. Make sure you like this video. As far as I know, we'll be back next week to do issue number 16 of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. Again, like the video, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out. I'm glad after my vacation to be back doing these reviews for you. I forgot how much fun it is to do to review this Marvel run in its entirety. I'm having a blast. I hope you are too. And with that being said, I'm Mark. You've been watching Coffee with Toys, and I'll see you later. Let's go.